Good evening, everyone. Severe Weather Team 9 meteorologist Nathan Schott here for this edition of Nate at 8. And while snow has been a big highlight of this week, our attention now turns more so to the temperatures as we're going to be tracking some very cold temperatures going into tomorrow morning, possibly setting some record lows across the tri-state area. Thanks as always for tuning in for this edition of Nate at 8. And that's certainly what we're going to be talking about for tonight. That near record cold, some sunshine then follows for our Friday, just like what we had for today. Then it's back to cloudy skies. It's a dreary weekend, but not a whole lot of precipitation during this stretch from Friday through the weekend. I think we can spot some flurries, some snow showers, and we'll break down what day will bring the best chance for that. It doesn't look like anything significant. Certainly no major winter storm ahead here over the next few days, but maybe spotting some snow showers in the mix. So we're going to get to that as well for this edition of Nate at 8. Of course, starting off with the more big story tonight, our temperatures. Current temperatures across the Ohio Valley are in the 20s, and some locations have fallen into the teens already. Carrollton Caddis at 18 degrees. And again, this is just the beginning of a cool down going into tomorrow morning. Now, notice how we are spotting some clouds into locations primarily south of I-70, and this can play a crucial role in our temperatures across the area. This cloud cover spilling in with a low pressure system. Now it passes to our south. We're not tracking any precipitation with that system, but notice it's just far enough north that we are getting some clouds spilling in from that system. And where we do see a little more cloud cover, temperatures can trend a little bit warmer. It's still cold across the board, but we can see lows upper teens, possibly even holding in the 20s for areas south of I-70. Now it's likely teens then, and even mid to lower teens as we look further north of I-70, and that's where we could get some single digit readings. The best chance for that north of Route 22. So we could see a little bit of a gradient setup again from the lower teens, upper single digits for areas closer to and north of Route 22. And then as we look closer to I-70 and especially south of I-70, it can be upper teens to even some 20s. We can get some lower 20s as well, just due to the fact that we're dealing with more cloud cover for areas south of I-70. It's cold across the board, the coldest temperatures, with the best chance for some record lows. It's going to be locations closer to it, especially north of I-70 into tomorrow morning. The good news is what helps temperatures reach to this extent is also a bit of a silver lining, and that's the fact that our winds look light to calm. Wind chills will not be a big factor into tomorrow morning, thankfully, right? That's what helps these temperatures get to this extent, but thankfully it's not going to feel much colder than it already is, which very cold for this time of the year by tomorrow morning. A record low of 12 degrees that was set in 1976. And it's interesting to note that record low of 12 degrees is actually a bit of an outlier. So a lot of our record lows around this time of the year are single digits, even some negative readings. So 12 degrees is a bit of a warm outlier in terms of a record low. Just something worth mentioning. I know for us, it's something I haven't seen over recent years, especially this early into the season. Last January was very cold, but this early in the season, it's not something we've typically seen over recent years, but just something of interest to note with that record low for tonight. And ironically for tonight is our full moon, and how fitting, because December's full moon is known as the cold moon. And how fitting to get it on a cold night here across the Ohio Valley. Pretty good viewing conditions. We're past the peak illumination, but it's still going to appear full. That peak illumination occurred 6:14 p.m. earlier this evening. And the moon's with us all night up until 8:35 a.m. into tomorrow morning. Again, it'll appear full tonight. Still good viewing conditions. Peak illumination occurred earlier this evening. This is the last of 3 consecutive supermoons of the year. Now, supermoon as a full moon that occurs near what's known as the moon's perigee. And that's just simply a word saying that given to the point of where the moon is closest to the earth. So think of the moon orbiting earth. It's not a perfect circle. It's an elliptical path. So there are points where the moon is a little closer to earth than others. And when the moon is closest to the earth in its orbit around earth, that's what's known as the moon's perigee. So when that is in line with a full moon, it's known as a supermoon. To the naked eye, there's really not much of a difference, but it does appear a little bit bigger and a little bit brighter than a typical full moon. So just something to note as we do extend going into tomorrow morning, is that we can get out and bundle up and catch a glimpse of the full cold moon. So there's our clouds looking into future casts again for a lot of locations, more in line with locations south of I-70 as we do extend into tomorrow morning. Cold across the area, but we could see temperatures more upper teens, lower 20 south of I-70, and more lower teens. And again, possibly some even upper single digits in the mix for locations north of I-70. We'll spot some sunshine again for tomorrow before the skies do turn cloudy. That's going to be the case likely going into Saturday morning. And we do have a pretty dreary weekend ahead for us. There's likely not much sun, if any, to be had as we go throughout the course of this coming weekend. It's just a lot of cloud cover, going to be pretty dreary across the area. Not a lot of precipitation, though, during this stretch. We can spot some flurries at times, so that potential there to deal with some snow showers. I think the best chance for those snow showers is going to be more in line with Sunday. We could spot some snow showers, not a guarantee, but we could spot some snow showers in the second half of the weekend. Again, this is nothing significant of, in terms of a winter a storm, but these snow showers, it's something measurable, can't be rolled out, but just we're not going to be piling up a significant amount of any snow going into the second half of this weekend. And someone mentioned tonight as well with the full cold moon. So Dan's asking Northern Lights this evening, and likely not, Dan, in terms of the Northern Lights this evening. There was a narrow window of time yesterday evening, but it's just too much cloud cover in place, unfortunately, into last night. Austin, good evening. This weather is perfect for staying inside and watching Christmas movies and specials. I stepped outside. You can see my breath in daylight. What's your favorite Christmas movie? I love a lot of Christmas movies. Probably have to go with National Lampoon's Christmas. That's probably, I think that has to be number one for me. I think that's Jeff's number one too. I see Jeff quoting it a lot. I think we both have that as our favorite Christmas movie. That would probably have to be it. Joe, good evening. Definitely not looking forward for that bitter cold morning tomorrow, but definitely looking forward to go see Zootopia 2 again. We'll have fun there, Austin. Enjoy it and hopefully stay warm. I know it's hard to do. Dan, good evening. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. Stay warm. Could say it better myself, Patty. Stay warm indeed. Turn up the heat, please. If only I had that control. So, yeah, it's going to be quite cold. And again, not as cold as what we'll see tomorrow morning for the weekend, thanks to more cloud cover in place. Lows will be back in the 20s, highs 30s. The highs aren't really changing much with respect to what we've had so far for this week, but certainly the lows will. And the cloud cover acts just like a blanket. And it helps, trap that heat near the surface. And what happens when we don't have the cloud cover? Well, and especially when combination with a light to calm wind, is that heat that's radiated off Earth's surface escapes into space. And we don't have that blanketing effect, right? We don't have that blanket effect from cloud cover. That helps trap that heat near the surface. And that's why we'll notice that these overnight lows are not nearly as cold once we see more cloud cover in the mix for the weekend. But for tonight, it's certainly these temperatures are really dropping off. Snow cover helps that as well. These temperatures drop off. So like I mentioned, by Sunday, some snow showers. Again, nothing looks to be as significant. Likely in terms of percentages, if we're talking an inch or more of snow, it's likely right now up to about a quarter flip. So look at about 50-50 chance that we're even getting an inch of snow from those snow shower Sundays. So again, this isn't looked to pile up anything of significance, but we could spot some snow showers second half of the weekend. If we do get accumulations again, a lot of it looks to be light, coating to an inch, maybe a little bit more. We'll see here over the next couple of days the way that models are trending, but certainly does not look to be much. We're not talking about a lot, right? If we are dealing with anything measurable, but it's something to note, and that would be into Sunday. Again, overall cloudy weekend, cold into next week. We'll see much more widespread precipitation arriving in the middle of next week, and that's with a a more potent low pressure system with respect to likely the one that we could see arrive for this weekend. Now, with that system, it does look to pull in a little bit milder air so that so wherever that center of low pressure is, we could be in what's called the warm sector of that. So, it's a lot, important to know where your center of low pressure is with these systems this time of the year, especially when it comes to precipitation type. So anytime we're dealing with that low closer to us, and especially north of us, with the way that those winds are around center of low pressure, we're getting those winds out of the south, so it's helping transport a little milder air into the region. So that's why we can see temperatures bump up a little bit on Wednesday, and it can be warm enough where, while it's certainly chilly, it's rain, so we can have some rain, chilly rain in the mix with the snow. It could be more of a mixed bag of precipitation on Wednesday, and again, something else that we'll have to further iron out as we get closer to it into the middle of next week. But that would be our next, more widespread guaranteed precipitation. Outside of that, a chance for some snow showers ahead of it Tuesday. Again, a chance for some on Sunday. Neither of those look to be a big impact event coming our way, but just something to note looking ahead into early next week. Cold first week of December. For us, quite a historic snow here early December as well. Getting over 3 inches of snow this early into the season has been rare. It's only happened 3 other times in the past 30 years. And all the other 3 times featured a lot of snow, 45 inches plus of snow from December through February. The first week of December, if it ends cold, which this one will, it's been a strong correlation that a lot of the winters overall, when that has happened, have seen seasonable to below normal temperatures. So it's just interesting that the beginning of December has a lot of correlation to December through February as a whole, and could overall end up with some seasonable to below normal temperatures for the winter. And, it doesn't look like it's going to set up to be a real warm winter, even though during our winter forecast special, how we mentioned that the beginning of winter, how winter could be more front loaded, so we can get more of our cold and snow December into a portion of January, but things can start to moderate later this winter. And during a lot of these winters of past, where we've seen similar conditions going into the winter like we are for this winter, for a lot of these winters that we typically have a early spring. So that's another silver lining, if you don't like this cold, that you can look forward to, that for a lot of these years we have similar conditions to this year, that we typically, deal with more of these wintry conditions early on, but we'll notice that as we get towards late winter, early spring, that we can see that warm up a bit earlier than we've had. And we have had that, some of those cold temperatures just lingering further into late winter, even into early spring. And we'll likely see less of that this time around, where we can get that warm up a bit earlier, and we say goodbye to the cold temperatures a bit earlier. I think we have a good chance for that. And that was part of our winter forecast, that February could start to trend a little warmer, and we could start to see a bit of more of an early spring, just like we had here, more of an early winter, right? Going into full effect here into a winter right at the end of November, even just continuing now into December. So that's a bit, what we were looking at with our winter forecast special. And so again, overall, we could just still deal with the more seasonable in terms of temperatures for the winter. So while we could have a cold December, we could start to moderate a little bit. Maybe we'll end up with a little bit above normal temperatures by February. But overall, you average out the 3 months, right? It could still come up to be more seasonable temperatures overall over the 3 month stretch. But that's just that's the silver lining. If you're not liking what we're dealing with now, yes, we could see this extend for much of December. It's supposed for good news for our white Christmas. You get a cold December, and the chance for white Christmas ups to about 64% chance. Still not a guarantee, but that's pretty good odds. Typically it's a lot lower than that. It's closer to a third. So, typically it's even cut in half of that in terms of the overall chance. But if you look at just cold Decembers, it's 64% chance, not bad. And that, statistically over the past 30 years, that's what our chance has been with a cold December. And certainly the way it's going now, hopefully we can manage at least to keep some of this snow cover as we do extend into going into Christmas. I mean, not to say the snow we have now, a lot of it could be in jeopardy, especially after Wednesday of next week. But just in general, that if we continue to get some of these rounds of snow, that we could keep some snow cover at least going into Christmas Day. Austin says, my favorite Christmas movie is Rudolph starring Whoopi Goldberg. Oh, very cool, Austin. I like the choice. Very nice. Any warming anytime soon? And yeah, Mike, probably going to have to wait on that. Again, I do think that later this winter we could start to moderate more, maybe so into, January, February. So probably not much though here in December. It looks to be pretty cold. I think it's going to end up flipping this pattern drastically. I mean, there's a little warm up, but not by much in the next Wednesday, but doesn't look like any drastic pattern change, at least here anytime soon, looking ahead into the second half of this month. Samuel says it's going to be cold. Be sure to check on your elderly neighbors, and absolutely check up on your elderly neighbors, those elderly, sick neighbors, friends, family. I mean, good point to just check up on your loved ones in general, neighbors, with those cold temperatures on the way for tomorrow morning. Carol, stay warm, everyone. Yes, indeed. It's going to be a tough task, isn't it? We're going to try our best to stay warm. David says South Carolina, York City will be getting some of your weather next 3 days. And we were just talking about, David, there, some of that system that's currently impacting areas towards our south right now. We're getting some cloud cover from that system. It's going to be producing some precipitation down that way to the Carolinas. So the cloud cover spilling in from that system can play a role in our temperatures here tonight. For areas south of I-70, could be a little warmer with respect to north of I-70. So if you don't like the cold and you're tuning in south of I-70, you hit a little bit of a lottery there. Not that it's going to be really warm, but you could stay closer to maybe holding into the 20s, while it's likely in the teens and even some single digits possible north of I-70. So we could see a bit of a gradient setting up across the area for tomorrow morning. And it's going to be interesting to see if we can set a record low, if we can at least tie it, if not set it. And it's been a long time. Chief Meteorologist Jeff Fexline noted that it'd been 3 years the last time that we looked at record lows. A long time for us here in the Ohio Valley. So we'll see if we can get it. We'll see if we can get it tomorrow morning. Been a long time. Renee says accumulation next week. It's possible that we could deal with some snow accumulation. Yes, it does look like, though, with that rain mixing in, temperatures climbing closer to 40 and some rain, that really eats up a lot of that snow anytime we deal with rain. So that's why we could even see a lot of what we have now get washed away, if you will, if we do end up with more of a chilly rain with that system. So we'll see. Yes, we can have some snow accumulations then, maybe something even very minor for this Sunday, but looking ahead to the next week as well, ahead of that chilly rain, behind it, maybe a little accumulation during that period as well. Again, unfortunately, it's still a little up in the air on the timing and exact precipitation type, but it does look warm enough where at least get a period of some chilly rain in the mix with that snow for the middle of next week. So certainly we'll be keeping an eye on that and give you the latest as we get closer to the middle of next week, where we can start to iron out those finer details. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful night. Try to stay warm. Coming up, News 9 at 10 on Fox 9 News 9 tonight 11. I'll have the latest on those cold temperatures for tomorrow morning, as well as the snow showers for this weekend. Stay tuned for the latest then, as well as that next edition of Nate at 8. Appreciate it as always. Have a wonderful evening. Until then, I'll see you on the next edition of Nate at 8.